Good evening. If you will, join me in a moment of silent prayer. Thank you. This evening, Ben Honey, a scout with the St. Mark's Troop 398, will lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. Scout.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ben, and I understand you're here with your dad, Ed Honey, and they are lovely neighbors from across the street on Shannon Drive, and Ben is working on his Communications Merit Badge, and we're happy to have you. We think as we look at our agenda tonight, you've picked a good night to come and visit our City Council. So good luck to you, and congratulations, and much success in your scouting career. All right, council members, you have before you your consent agenda. If you have any questions regarding it, now would be a good time to bring those up. And if not, I'll accept a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Motion and second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Ms. Gales Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
All right, this time you have the minutes of the July 26th special meeting and the July 26, 2012 regular meeting before you. If you've had a chance to review those minutes, are there any additions or deletions? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Motion is second. Ms. Wright, please call the roll.
Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Ms. Gales Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
All right, this time we'll consider for passage on third and final reading an ordinance amending the Murfreesboro City Code. Chapter 4, Alcohol, Section 419, regarding possession of beer and wine or other alcoholic beverages on public streets and places.
Move for approval. Second.
Motion is second. Please call the roll, Ms. Wright.
Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Ms. Gales Harris.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
All right, this time we'll consider for passage also on third and final reading an ordinance amending Murfreesboro City Code Appendix C, City of Murfreesboro, Tennessee Employees Revised Pension Trust Agreement.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. Please call the roll, Ms. Wright.
Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Ms. Gales Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
All right, this time we'll consider for passage on second reading an ordinance to rezone an area along South Church Street to Highway Commercial CH District.
Move for passage on second reading.
Second.
Thank you. A motion and second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Ms. Gales Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
All right, this time we'll consider for passage on second reading an ordinance to rezone an area located east of Memorial Boulevard to Highway Commercial CH District.
Move for passage on second reading. Second.
Motion and second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Ms. Gales Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
All right, this time pursuant to a resolution adopted by City Council on June 21st, 2012, we will conduct a public hearing to consider annexing approximately 47 acres located along South Rutherford Boulevard. Mary Murphy Family Partnership is the applicant. Notice of the said public hearing was published in the July 15, 2012 issue of the local newspaper. Ms. Ely, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Bragg and council members. Our first public hearing this evening is to consider annexing property that's located along the north side of South Rutherford Boulevard and is located along the eastern side of the CSX Railroad. And if you direct your attention to the map that's in your packets and on the screen, you can see that the area is shaded orange. The property is approximately 47 acres. It is a portion of a larger tract. The entire tract is 90 acres, but the applicant is only requesting the annexation of those 47 acres. There is additional study area that's included in this feasibility study and plan of services. One of those additional study areas is shaded purple. May be just a little difficult for you to read because it is a small sliver of property. It's actually CSX right-of-way, and you can see that there's a box that points to an area shaded purple along the western side of the orange parcel. That's approximately 1,771 linear feet of CSX right-of-way. The other additional study area that was included is this area shaded blue. So if you see the orange map and to the south of the parcel, you can see there's an area shaded blue, and that is approximately 1,393 linear feet of South Rutherford Boulevard right-of-way that's included in the study area. These two rights-of-ways should be annexed if you decide to annex the 47 acres, since it would completely encompass these portions of right-of-way. And of course, nobody lives in either of those areas. They're actually publicly owned either by the railroad or by the city of Murfreesboro. The property that you're looking at to annex is currently undeveloped land. The properties to the north are a part of Saratoga subdivision, which is city single-family subdivision. To the contiguous west-south of the property are properties that are zoned and developed commercially. To the south is an industrial zoning, and there's also an industrial user there. And the area that's shaded white is actually the unincorporated area of Rutherford County, so that is currently not in Murfreesboro city limits. With the annexation of the entire study area, including the additional study areas, this property is contiguous with current city limits, and it's all within the Murfreesboro's urban growth boundary. I've included a plan of services in your packets that details and outlines what services the city can provide and a time frame for providing those services. Essentially, our services are all available to this property. This is a little unusual in that tonight you will be having a public hearing and then considering this for third and final reading. Staff brought to you this item for first and second reading, also the next item, which will be the rezoning for this property, in the previous weeks, so that to assist the potential development for the property, I guess the sellers are looking to sell this to somebody who has applied to the state of Tennessee for a fast-track grant, and this is an economic development opportunity, and that's why it's a little bit different. In light of that, the Planning Commission had their public hearing last night. Because of that, you don't have the minutes from the meeting, but all 7 members were present, and they did recommend annexation of the entire area unanimously. There are representatives of the applicant in our audience, Mr. Brick Murphy, Mr. Matt Murphy, and Mr. Matt Taylor. They do not have a presentation prepared for you, but they are happy to answer any questions that you might have. You should conduct a public hearing before formulating your decision whether to annex these properties. If you have any questions either before or after the public hearing, I'd be glad to answer them.
Hearing none, why don't I open the public hearing at this time, and anyone wishing to speak for or against this annexation, please step to the microphone. Give us your name and address. Is anyone here wishing to speak for or against the annexation? Last chance. If not, I'll close the public hearing at this time. We'll consider for passage on third and final reading an ordinance annexing an area along South Rutherford Boulevard.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion and second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
Aye. At this time, pursuant to a resolution adopted by City Council on June 21st, 2012, we'll conduct a public hearing to consider zoning an area located along South Rutherford to heavy industrial HI district, simultaneous with annexation. Mary Murphy Family Partnership is the applicant. Notice of the said public hearing was published in the July 15th, 2012 issue of a local newspaper. Ms. Ely, continue.
Thank you, sir. This next public hearing goes in tandem with our previous item. It is to consider changing the zoning of the property simultaneous with its annexation Currently, the property which we just studied, the 47 acres, is zoned for industrial purposes in Rutherford County. Our zoning ordinance says that when property is annexed into the city of Murfreesboro, is zoned for any type of industrial use in the county, it would come in with an interim zoning of LI, which is Light Industrial District. The applicants have requested to change that zoning to HI, so they've requested a heavy industrial zoning simultaneous with the annexation. The surrounding zoning to the north is RM16, although it is developed as a single-family subdivision. It is zoned multifamily. There's also properties zoned CH to the north. The properties that are contiguous with this study area to the west are zoned Light Industrial District, and if you'll see just south of Rutherford Boulevard, those properties are zoned HI Heavy Industrial District, and the request is to change the zoning to HI Heavy Industrial District simultaneous with the annexation. They do have a user in mind. I mentioned before that this is an economic development opportunity, and there's a use that's very close to this property where they make sheds, and I believe the name is Metal Max. The owner is looking to locate his business here, consolidate a bunch of businesses, and actually manufacture those accessory structures. And so, again, they've made an application to the state for some assistance through the Fast Track Grant, and they're requesting this HI zone to allow their proposed use. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them either before or after the public hearing. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of this zoning change unanimously, and all 7 members were present last night.
Any other questions before I open the public hearing? If not, I'll open the public hearing at this time. Anyone wishing to speak for or against this zoning, please step to the microphone, give us your name and address. Is anyone here wishing to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing at this time. We'll consider for passage on third and final reading an ordinance to zone an area along South Rutherford Boulevard as heavy industrial HI district simultaneous with annexation.
Move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Motion and second. Please call the roll, Ms. Wright.
Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
Aye. At this time, we'll hear a brief PowerPoint presentation from Assistant Water and Sewer Director with regards to effective utility management.
Mayor, Council, thank you. Good evening. I want to get to my PowerPoint here.
The clock is running, Mr. Gore.
4 minutes.
4 minutes and 30 seconds. No pressure.
I've got it covered here if I can.
4 minutes and 15 seconds.
The Olympics may be working to his
Okay.
advantage tonight.
The Russian judge is looking down.
I can go. This is quick. But thank you for allowing me to come before you tonight. I wanted to give you a brief presentation over a comprehensive management model that the water sector utility is moving towards. It's called Effective Utility Management. This model was conceived, or the inception of it was in May of 2007. There were 6 major water and wastewater associations with the United States Environmental Protection Agency that signed a historic agreement pledging to support this Eum model collectively and individually throughout the water sector. The Eum model is basically has 10 attributes. You can kind of see the hub around the Eum. I'll go into each one of those components briefly, but basically this model targets measurement. How are you measuring these specific attributes? How are you strategically planning for these attributes? And how are you continuously improving these attributes? I've got a self-assessment up here in the upper left-hand corner. And so these are some of the questions that we as a department are going to be asking ourselves over the next several months. These are components associated with product quality, such as, do we comply with regulatory and reliability requirements? Are we consistent with customer, public health, and ecological needs? With regards to customer satisfaction, do we provide reliable, responsive, and affordable services? Do we receive timely customer feedback? Are we responsive to customers' needs and emergencies? With employee and leadership development, do we recruit and retain a competent workforce? Are we a collaborative organization dedicated to continual learning and improvement? Do we retain and improve employee institutional knowledge? Do we have opportunities for professional and leadership development within the Water and Sewer Department? Are we integrated? Do we have an integrated and well-coordinated senior leadership team? With regards to operational optimization, do we have ongoing performance improvements? Are we minimizing our resource use and loss from day-to-day operations? Are we aware and timely in adopting operational and technology improvements? With regards to financial viability, do we understand the full life cycle cost of the utility? Do we have an effective balance between long-term debt, asset values, operations and maintenance expenditures, and operating revenues? Do we have predictable and adequate rates? With regards to infrastructure stability, do we understand the condition of and cost associated with critical infrastructure assets? Do we maintain and enhance assets over the long term at the lowest possible life cycle cost and acceptable risk? Our repair efforts are coordinated with the community to minimize disruptions. With regards to operational resiliency, does our staff work together and anticipate and avoid problems? Are we proactive? Do we establish tolerance levels and effectively manage risks, including legal, regulatory, financial, environmental, safety, security, and natural disaster related? Community sustainability. Are we attentive to the impacts on our community and watershed health and welfare? Do we enhance our natural environment? Are we efficient in our use of water and energy resources? Do we promote economic vitality and engender overall community improvement? Do we maintain and enhance ecological and community sustainability, including pollution prevention, watershed, and source water protection? With regards to water resource adequacy, do we ensure water availability through long-term resource supply and demand analysis, conservation, and public education? Do we manage operations to provide for long-term aquifer and surface water sustainability and replenishment? Just to note, we don't have any aquifers. We're purely a surface water utility. With regards to stakeholder understanding and support, do we engender understanding and support from our oversight bodies, such as yourself and our Water and Sewer Board? Community and watershed interests and regulatory bodies for service levels, rate structures, operating budgets, capital improvement programs, and risk management decisions? Do we actively involve stakeholders in the decisions that will affect them? And I brought all those in there because those are questions that we as a utility need to answer through a self-assessment. And what you see here is kind of the first level of strategic planning that we do want to come into. And to be real, I need a pointer, but basically to show that we have a ranking. We take those 10 attributes and we rank them 1 through 10, 1 being our most important, 10 being our least important. And then we rate those from a level of 1 to 5. And what you ultimately want is that upper left-hand blue quadrant. Those are areas that we identify as our most important and our least and lesser achievement. So that identifies the areas that we want to concentrate on as a priority. So our Water and Sewer Board Chairman, Mr. John Santamore, he is interested in the board also completing this self-assessment. I think we're going to be sending this self-assessment out to senior level supervisors, upper management within the department. Be happy to include administration and the council as well in going through this self-assessment. And ultimately, we want to go through a strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat analysis, or a SWOT analysis. As we've identified those priorities, we can dial down and figure out how we need to move from basically a gap analysis, where we are, where we want to be, how do we bridge the gap. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. We went over this with our Water and Sewer Board at the last board meeting. This is gaining traction within the industry. This will not only allow us to measure our improvement. In a lot of these areas, we'll be allowed to benchmark ourselves against other utilities so that we can see, compared to other utilities of our same makeup or same size, how do we compare with them, and are we moving in a trend that shows that we are in a mode of continuous improvement, which is what we want. And it works in concert with the city's service excellence initiatives. So that's my presentation. I don't know if that was within 5 minutes, but thank you for the time.
You're well within the time limits. Let me ask you a question. You plan on doing this internally, or will you have someone come from outside to help you go through this process, at least initially?
We're going through, well, to answer the question simply, we're going to do it internally. I think any type of strategic planning, you need to get the vision, I believe, of the council and the board. So I do believe we need to have some listening sessions with you all and with administration. But being familiar with the talent and the skills that we have, it kind of needs to be a bottom-up, where we're at right now versus where our leaders want us to be, and how do we bridge that analysis. I think we can do that in-house. We do have a consultant on board right now, Weston Engineering, that is helping us with the information technology strategy. We're going into a customer information systems upgrade that in effect, they've developed a request for proposals for us that we're fine-tuning to try to get out on the street so that we can. They had a great comment that said, all problems are business problems, and information technology is a tool to help solve business problems. So if we have business problems, we want to use information, IT or technology to help enhance it. It's not going to fix it. We have to work it from the employee development side. So as I said, we're a 24/7, 365 industry. We've got 3 shifts. We've got 2 plants that never stop, and we're a supply chain commodity-driven industry. And so employee development, employee training is huge, and succession planning is very, very important as well. How do we plan for the retirements of a lot of employees that are up and coming, and get people ready to take over the helm when we have those retirements?
Thank you. Other questions or comments? We certainly appreciate your hard work, and we recognize that Mr. Kirchner is not here giving this little talk. Tomorrow is his last day. Is that I understand that?
Yes, sir. We have a retirement celebration for Mr. Kirchner between 2:30 and 4:30 tomorrow afternoon. I'd invite everybody to come. He went and picked his brother up at the airport this afternoon, and so I'm sure he's enjoying. I see him at times looking at the walls and looking like he's going to miss it, and then other days I can tell he's ready to go enjoy his retirement. So
Well,
he's done a
been a wonderful asset for us. Where is that going to be?
It's in the city rotunda.
At the Rotunda.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Gore.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, how about beer permit applications, Ms. Wright?
Yes, Mayor, I have 3 tonight that aren't quite complete, but I wanted to go ahead and get them in. I expect them to finish up their codes inspections very soon. One is a restaurant at 2053 Las Casas Pike. One is a restaurant at 2962 South Rutherford Boulevard, Suite A. And lastly, I have a convenience store at 1121 Braidable Pike. They meet our background requirements, and as I said, they're just lacking a few building inspections.
All right, council members, you have these 3 beer permit applications, and if you're willing to issue these beer permits upon successful completion of all the required building and codes inspections, is there a motion?
Second.
Thank you. Motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
At this time, you have before you the statements to be considered for payment. You've had an opportunity to review that list. Any questions regarding those statements, or is there a motion to pay the bills?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. A motion and second to pay the bills. Please call the roll. Let's see if they want to really do it.
Mr. Gelly.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
No.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
Aye. Okay, that carries. We will pay the bills this week. All right, I have no board and commission appointments. Other business from staff or the council to come before the council at this time.
Mr. Adelot has one item.
All right, Mr. Adelot, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Bragg, members of the council. I have two items tonight. The first item is with regards to scheduling a public hearing. During its regular meeting on August 1st, the Planning Commission conducted a public hearing and considered adoption of master plan amendments for the proposed Murfreesboro Municipal Airport 2012 Airport Layout Plan. After the public hearing, the Planning Commission voted to adopt the plan, and it is recommended that the council schedule a public hearing on this matter. I'd point out that the Murfreesboro Airport Commission also recommended approval of this airport layout plan. The fiscal impact, the public hearing itself is relatively minor. It's just the cost of the advertisement. But the impact study of the master plan, I think you all have already received at a previous meeting, and you'll receive that information again prior to the public hearing. I have consulted with our legal department and with Mr. Gerke. August 23rd would be a good date for that. That's a Thursday night. That will allow for us sufficient time to prepare a formalized resolution for certification of the plan and have it back before the Planning Commission for formal adoption at its August 15th meeting prior to the City Council having the chance to consider the resolution adopting the plan. And it would give us plenty of time, adequate time to advertise.
So the date is August the 23rd, is that correct?
That's what I'd like to propose.
Council members, August 23rd. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
All right, thank you. Mr. McFarland, Mr. Young, please call the roll.
Mr. Gelly.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
Aye. Thank you.
And now for our second item.
Okay.
During its regular meeting on August 1st, the Planning Commission considered a mandatory referral for an unneeded drainage easement in the backyard of 3012 Buford Street in the Savannah Ridge subdivision. Due to the manner in which the streets in the subdivision were constructed and the yards are graded after the development of the subdivision, there is no need for the city to have this easement. The Planning Commission has approved this mandatory referral for the easement abandonment and recommends the council also approve it and authorize the mayor to sign necessary quitclaim deeds to accomplish this abandonment. The city engineer staff have looked this over. They concur with having the easement abandoned, and the owner will be very grateful that he might be able to get his pool built this year.
All right, you have this abandon this mandatory referral for an easement abandonment before you. Any questions, Mr. Adelot? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Move for approval, Mayor.
Second.
Thank you. A motion second. Please call the roll, Ms. Wright.
Mr. Gelly.
Aye.
Ms. Gels Harris.
Aye.
Mr. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Smotherman.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Washington.
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Mayor Bragg.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adelot. Anything else to come before the council?
Mayor, I wanted
Yes,
to
Mr. McFarland.
been working with Mr. Lyons on a couple of different issues, and I know that we've really, since the assistant city manager, Ms. Logan, came on to run the one-stop shop program, that we've really been working to ramp that up and hearing the need from people out in the community regarding small businesses needing that help with one-stop shop. We just wanted to, Mr. Lyons was going to work on giving us sort of an action plan on maybe doing a self-assessment on how we handle small businesses from start to finish that maybe can't afford the engineers and the things that they have that other big projects would have. So he was going to come back to us and give us sort of a self-assessment from bottom up on that, and just wanted to let the council know that, what was the timeline on that, Rob?
I think what I'd like to do is give you a pretty comprehensive report in no more than 60 days.
Okay.
Ms. Logan has been making some site visits with the city of Nashville, city of Chattanooga. We've been using the Amazon project as a example of the one-stop shop so we can uncover some things that work well. And just this week, she resolved problems on another very large industrial project. So we've been working on it. But one of the things we also want to do is engage our design community, the building community, is to find out where else we can do a better job at, and then begin to formalize that program. So we've been working on it, but it'll be time for me to give you a report, and I'll try to do that quicker than 60 days. But we want to really put together a solid plan that we could share with you.
And this was all, as we go to these grand openings and things that are the small businesses, we'll bend our ear on certain things, and so I think it's a good step to maybe see how we can be more proactive with some of our, really the majority of businesses that make up Murfreesboro are all small businesses, so making sure that we help them out.
And this was a big part of the creation of that position in the city manager's office, was to focus on the customer service and the service excellence component, but also on the one-stop shop. So we believe in it wholeheartedly, and we'll be glad to get your report.
Thank you.
Mr. McFarland was delaying the meeting so I could announce that it is his birthday Sunday. He and his twin brother, I'm not sure which one is older, but we wish you happy birthday on Sunday. And also Literacy Day is Saturday, and there will be a parade, and we're asking people to participate. You'll meet at Central Magnet School at 8:45. Walk begins at 9, and we're going to walk to the Civic Plaza, and that's sponsored by United Way, Olive Branch Missionary Baptist Church, and Read to Succeed. Literacy Day.
Mayor, excuse me, I wasn't here last Thursday on the service of your mother, and you have my condolences to my family.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You're adjourned.